My twin brother Steven's wife, Clara Hayes, had just had their baby. When he took off with my girlfriend, I was pissed. So I used our identical faces and stepped into his life with Clara. 10 years later, Steven came back. By then, his daughter was healthy and gorgeous. Clara's company was about to go public. My ex-girlfriend broke. Steven smirked at me. I'm giving your girlfriend back. Now give me back the family you stole. I agreed through gritted teeth. That night, I booked a flight out. But on my way to the airport, Clara slid into my lap and whispered, "You're really leaving? Tell me, is she better than me?" When my brother ran off with my rich girlfriend, Mia Winters, he had the nerve to send me a photo of them together. His text said, "Goodbye. You couldn't beat me as a kid. You never will." I was furious. I stared at myself in the mirror, the same face as my twin, and came up with a plan. That night, I showed up at Clara's door ready to become Steven. If he could dump his wife and newborn in my city, he had no right to complain about how I took care of them. Clara seemed weirded out by her husband's sudden personality change, but her business was failing at the time. She probably figured I was mad, because she wasn't making money dragging me and our daughter down. She thought my bad mood made sense. So she became even more submissive. Every time I snapped at her, she'd just lower her head and promised she'd give us a better life soon. I knew Clara was docile, but not this much. So I turned my attention to his daughter, Emma. I've been raising her since she was 3. To her, I was her dad. But I was strict. My cooking sucked, and my temper was worse.
Yelled at her constantly.
Each time, she pressed her lips together, little hands clutching her dress, looking up at me with tears in her eyes. "Addie, please don't be mad. I'll go kneel outside. Please don't hurt yourself being upset." Mother and daughter, both total pushovers. That's what I thought until the day I picked her up from kindergarten and saw a bunch of kids beating her up. Something inside me snapped. I'd never laid a hand on her. I went straight to the principal. The kid bullying her, son of the city's biggest CEO. The principal told me to let it go. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, basically. So I walked out and punched the CEO right in the face. Clara spent the next hour apologizing like crazy, bowing and scraping. It made my blood boil. After making them pay the medical bills, I grabbed the mother and daughter and got us out of there. On the way back, Clara looked like she wanted to say something. I shot her an annoyed look. "What, you think I was too impulsive?" She coughed awkwardly. "It's not that." "Then don't I cut her off sharply? Either grow a backbone so your daughter doesn't get bullied again, or shut up or let me handle it. That's better than having the whole family be cowards." I didn't expect Clara to actually do it. Now that CEO had to send gifts through middlemen just to get a meeting with Clara. The Hayes family had seriously made it in New York. No one dared mess with Emma anymore. After I stood up for her at kindergarten, that time, seeing how skinny she was, I spent my own money on supplements, even though Clara was still in debt. "Look how skinny you are. No wonder people pick on you. Don't call me dad until you put on some weight." Under my watch, Emma not only gained weight but got healthy too. Whether it was strength or status, no other kid dared touch her anymore. Everything was good. Emma saw me as her father. She'd brag to everyone about how I faced down that CEO in front of the principal. Clara saw me as her husband, too. After I made it big, she kept giving me company shares, showering me with luxury cars and properties, never thinking of herself, me, someone who'd never had money. I started believing this could last forever. Then my brother came back and pulled me out of my beautiful dream. With Clara. "Actually, these 10 years of happiness, you stole all of it." Steven sat across from me blowing smoke rings. "Yeah, I ran off with your girlfriend, but my wife and daughter are still mine. That doesn't give you the right to take over my family." He flicked his ash. "I won't come after you for stealing my identity. I'm giving Mia back. You give me back my wife and daughter." I clenched my fists. Mia had gone bankrupt recently. She was worse off than Clara had been back then. You really know how to time things. Steal your brother's girlfriend when your wife's struggling, then come back to play good husband after you've had your fun. Smack. The ashtray shattered at my feet. My brother looked down at me. "Is that how you talk to your own brother? And let's be clear, Lucas Reed. So, what if I hooked up with your girlfriend? You seduced my wife. You stole my daughter. That was my kid, born to my wife. Who's the real scumbag here? Think about it. Which one of us is actually despicable?" My breath caught. He stood up, walked over, and looked down at me. "If you try to hold on, I'll expose everything. Then we'll see who gets trashed more.
You or me."
I didn't really care about getting trashed all my life. I just wanted enough to eat and drink. When I was dating Mia, didn't. Tons of people call me a gold digger. But I thought of Emma the way she sweetly called me daddy. If this came out, what would she think? What would Clara think? Taking a deep breath, I said, "Give me 3 days." Steven frowned. What for? Don't I need to pack my stuff? Shouldn't I clean up my traces? Don't I need to write you notes about how they've changed over 10 years? Stephen's expression softened a bit. He sneered, if you try anything, I'll make sure you're completely disgraced. During dinner, both Clara and Emma noticed something was off with me. Right after we finished eating, she came to the bedroom holding my arm and looking at me. Is someone giving you trouble, Clara? What would you do if you had to change husbands one day? The smile on that gentle, honest face cracked. You want to divorce me? I cupped her face. Why are you freaking out? I'm just curious. Never, she said through gritted teeth. It was rare to see her this assertive with me. If you leave, Emma and I will stay single forever. If you die, I'll raise Emma until she's 18 and then come find you. I quickly covered her mouth.
I didn't like hearing her say stuff like that.
What if, just what if? What if one day someone who looks exactly like me came to replace me? Would that be okay? My brother and I had competed our whole lives. We never introduced our partners to each other. Clara didn't know he had a twin. Honey, she gripped my hand. What kind of partner lives with someone for 10 years and doesn't notice when an identical face shows up? That would only mean they don't love enough. And no one in this world loves you more than I do. I forced down the smile that wanted to form. You're being cheesy.
She didn't mind.
Kissed my lips, then went to heat up milk for me. This was how we'd spend our days together over the years. Even in the beginning, when my harsh words hurt her most, she'd push through and heat milk for me. I don't know when I started, hoping I could drink her warmed milk for the rest of my life. Maybe feeling guilty. Clara publicly gave me an entire building. The next day, the ribbon-cutting ceremony had all of New York talking. She publicly announced I'd be her only husband for life. That evening, I rushed to the banquet, but I found a familiar figure already there, wearing the exact same suit as me, laughing with the elites who knew me. Catching sight of me, everyone's eyes widened. Oh, my God. Mr. Reed, you really do have a twin. Even I looked at him surprised. He raised an eyebrow, looking disdainful. Here's the good brother I mentioned, the one trying to sleep with his sister-in-law. I clenched my fists. No wonder Miss Hayes handed you a whole building out of nowhere. Gotta prove her loyalty, right? Everyone knows how devoted Miss Hayes is. Even if you two look the same, it doesn't mean anything. Honestly, real love can tell twins apart instantly. This homewrecker should quit his cheap tricks. Those high society people I used to laugh with couldn't even tell us apart. Just because Stephen showed up first. They accepted him as the me they knew. Stephen played along. I was afraid you'd have those sick thoughts again, which is why I never introduced you to your sister-in-law. But I've never treated you unfairly. Every time you said you had no money, didn't I send you some?
What?
Now you want to skip me and ask your sister-in-law directly?
You.
I was furious. Just as I stepped forward to argue, panic flashed in my brother's eyes. My hand hadn't even touched him when he stumbled and crashed into the champagne tower. Why are you pushing me? The champagne tower toppled. Glasses rained down on him, soaking him. Everyone rushed to separate us. You're so ungrateful. You seduced your sister-in-law, and now you're pushing your brother. Coming here dressed like your brother. Have you no shame? Don't think being identical makes you special. Miss Hayes wouldn't want someone who sells himself. Just as I was about to speak, familiar voice came from behind. What are you all doing, Clara? I turned around, but she walked right past me and helped Stephen up. Baby, are you hurt?
Let me see.
Stephen just bit his lip, eyes red, shaking his head. He didn't say a word, but his silence made everyone feel his pain.
Daddy.
A small figure rushed over and hugged my brother tightly. Daddy, are you okay? Seeing the daughter I'd raised, my brother froze first, then he smiled with red eyes, touching her face and shaking his head.
Daddy.
Emma hugged my brother and cried her heart out. I suddenly realized that with my brother, she showed way more emotion than she ever did with me. They say blood is thicker than water. Turns out, even though Emma hadn't seen her father in 10 years, that blood connection meant she could still recognize her dad in a crowd and run straight to him. Sir, Clara helped my brother up and looked at me coldly. Even though you're my husband's twin, that doesn't mean you can bully my people. He's your brother, but more importantly, he's my lover. I clenched my fists for what you did today. I'll have my lawyer pursue legal action. I suddenly laughed. Yesterday, she said, if an identical face didn't matter, it was only because the love wasn't deep enough. So Clara didn't love me enough. After all, I promised Stephen that the next day, I'd write notes about how the mother and daughter had changed over the past 10 years, then pack my stuff and leave to avoid mix UPS. After the banquet, it was still me who went home with Clara and her daughter. I leaned against the bed without saying anything. Clara carefully came to my side, gently holding my hand. What's wrong? Still mad at your brother? I pulled my hand away. Without speaking, He shamelessly grabbed it again. I told you you're the only man in my life. He has the same face as you, but that's not an advantage. I just find it disgusting. I suddenly looked up at her.
Don't you believe me?
She clearly thought I was my brother. Tomorrow I'll have someone send your brother abroad. And never let him come back.
How about that?
I looked at her for a while before speaking. No need. Tomorrow I go abroad myself. After lying down, I turned my back to Clara. She kept talking, trying to get my attention. I heard your brother caught feelings because his girlfriend went broke. That was Mia, right? I frowned, annoyed. This was the story my brother had made up about me. He painted me as a pathetic guy who first latched onto a rich girl. Then when she lost everything and his sister-in-law made it big, he tried to move on to her instead. Mia is trash. If he was into her,
That says enough about him. The words felt heavy in my chest.
to get back some dignity, I muttered. She was all right. Good in bed. Then warm hands gently wrapped around me from behind my back, sank into a soft embrace. Nothing in this world could ever come between us.
Love.
I closed my eyes. After I leave tomorrow, you can have your great romance with him for all I care. While Clara was at work and Emma was at school the next day, I handed over the past 10 years to Stephen. Then taking the check he gave me, I wheeled my suitcase out. I didn't plan to go back to Mia. The plane ticket was for Paris. With this money, I didn't need to worry about the future. The car I booked arrived at the hotel after dark. I got in and closed my eyes. But soon after we started moving, the driver pulled over. I opened my eyes. Why are you picking up someone else? The driver didn't answer. He just got out. I was about to call him back when my door opened. The person stepping in took my breath away. Mia is good in bed. Clara's voice came from above me. The next second, she settled in my lap. She cupped my face looking down. I'm so much better. Want to find out? The interior of the town car was dim, lit only by the passing streetlights of the Queensboro Bridge. Clara was warm against me, her fingers tracing the rigid line of my jaw. I was frozen. My brain was misfiring. Clara, get off. If Stephen sees. Stephen is currently at the penthouse, drinking a bottle of vintage scotch he doesn't know is corked, and yelling at the maid. Clara interrupted, her voice dangerously calm. She didn't move. She shifted her weight, pressing closer. And you? You were trying to run away to Paris with a check that I've already cancelled.
You served the hit.
What? Lucas, she whispered. My real name sounded like a gunshot coming from her lips. I stopped breathing. You knew. I choked out. How long? Clara pulled back just enough to look me in the eyes. The submissive, gentle wife I'd known for 10 years was gone. In her place was the CEO who had terrified competitors for a decade. Her eyes were sharp, glittering with a mix of anger and overwhelming affection. 10 years, you idiot, she said softly. I knew on day 3. Day 3? That's impossible. I have his face. I have his voice. You have his face, she agreed, running a thumb over my cheekbone. But you don't have his rot. On day 3, you burned the eggs. Stephen never cooked. Not once. But instead of throwing the pan in the sink and storming out, you scraped the burnt parts off and ate them yourself so Emma and I could have the good parts. She rested her forehead against mine. Stephen would have starved us before he inconvenienced himself.
You?
You stood in front of the principal and punched a billionaire. You think Stephen had the guts to do that? You think I would notice that the man in my bed stopped smelling like cheap cologne and other women and started smelling like soap and hard work? But the gala, I stammered, my defenses crumbling. You walked right past me. You helped him. You called him your husband. Clara let out a dark, humorless laugh. Because if I had chosen you right there, Stephen would have burned everything down. He has the photos, doesn't he? He threatened to destroy Emma's reputation, to call you a fraud, to send you to prison for identity theft. I couldn't let him corner you. She kissed the corner of my mouth. I had to make him feel like he won. I had to make him think he was the king of New York again. Because when a man like Stephen thinks he's won, he gets sloppy. So, the building you gave me isn't a trust, she said. A trust that requires biometric verification. Your fingerprints, Lucas. Not his. He can scream at the bank tellers all he wants. He won't see a dime of the Hayes empire. I slumped back against the leather seat, the tension of 10 years leaving my body in a rush. I thought I was stealing his life. I thought I was tricking you. You stole nothing, Clara whispered, her hand moving down to rest over my heart. You stepped into a burning house and held up the roof. Now, tell me again, is Mia really better than me? I grabbed her hand, interlacing our fingers tightly.
Elite.
I lied about everything to make you hate me, so leaving would be easier. Good, she murmured, leaning in to kiss me properly, a kiss that tasted like victory and rain. Because we're turning this car around. I'm not done with my husband yet. And you have a daughter who is currently confused as hell. When we arrived back at the penthouse, Clara didn't let us go in through the front door. We took the service elevator to the security room. On the monitors, I saw him. Stephen was wearing my silk robe, the one Emma had bought me for Father's Day. He was pacing the living room, a glass in one hand, phone in the other. "Where is the damn safe key?" he screamed into the phone. He was talking to Mia. She said she transferred the assets. I'm looking at the accounts, Mia, and they're frozen. It says biometric mismatch. On another monitor, I saw the door to Emma's room slightly ajar. My heart hammered. "Zoom in on the hallway," I told the security guard. Emma was standing there. She wasn't crying. She looked skeptical. She was 10 years old now, sharp as a tack, raised by a man who taught her to never take disrespect. She was watching Stephen throw a tantrum. Stephen spun around and saw her. "What are you staring at? Go to bed. And stop looking at me like that. I'm your father." "No, you're not," Emma said. Her voice was small but steady. Stephen froze. "What did you say to me, you little brat?" He took a step toward her. I moved to the door, but Clara held my arm. "Wait. Watch." "I said you're not my dad," Emma said, crossing her arms. "My dad doesn't smoke inside. My dad doesn't yell at me for standing in the hallway. And my dad knows that I have a peanut allergy. You just ate the spicy peanuts from the bar and breathed on me." Stephen sneered. "I'm the one who made you. That imposter was just a placeholder." "He was a dad," Emma shot back. "You're just a donor." Stephen's face turned purple. He raised his hand. That was it. I didn't wait for Clara. I kicked the security room door open and sprinted down the hallway. I burst into the living room just as Stephen's hand was coming down. I didn't shout. I didn't announce myself. I tackled him. We hit the marble floor hard. The glass of scotch shattered. Stephen was softer than me. 10 years of soft living versus 10 years of carrying the weight of a family. I pinned him instantly, my forearm against his throat. "Don't you ever," I snarled, my face inches from his, "raise a hand to her." Stephen gagged, clawing at my arm. "Lucas, you were supposed to be on a plane." I stood up, hauling him up by the collar of the robe. Change of plans. Clara walked in then. She looked immaculate, terrifying. She went straight to Emma. "Mom." Emma looked between me and the man in the robe. We were identical. Same height, same face. But Emma didn't hesitate. She ran past Stephen and buried her face in my stomach. "Daddy," she sobbed. I wrapped my arms around her, glaring at my brother. "It's okay, Em. I'm here." Stephen straightened his robe, trying to regain some dignity. "This is ridiculous. Clara, call the police. He's trespassing." "I am your husband." Clara turned to him. "Actually, Stephen, you're legally dead." The room went silent. "What?" Stephen blinked. 7 years ago, Clara said, pulling a document from her purse. "When you didn't return, and after Lucas and I fixed the mess you left of the company, we had you declared legally dead in absentia to settle the estate. It was the only way to protect the assets from your gambling debts." "I'm standing right here," Stephen screamed. "You're a ghost," I said, stepping forward. "And ghosts don't own property. Ghosts don't have custody rights." "I'll take a DNA test," Stephen shouted. "I'll prove I'm the father." "Go ahead," Clara said coolly. "Prove you're the biological father. The court will then ask why you abandoned your child for a decade, committed fraud, and why you're currently harassing a woman who is legally married to Lucas Reed." I looked at Clara, surprised. "We're married? We renewed our vows 4 years ago," Clara smirked. "I put Lucas Reed on the license application. You just signed Hayes out of habit. Legally? I've been married to you for 4 years." Stephen looked around the room, realizing the walls were closing in. His smirk returned, nasty and desperate. "Fine. You want to play it this way? I'll go to the press. CEO of Hayes Corp sleeping with husband's twin. It'll destroy your stock price. It'll ruin Emma's life at school." "Do it," I said. Stephen paused. "Call the press," I challenged. "Tell them everything. Tell them how you ran off with my girlfriend. Tell them how you abandoned your wife when she was bankrupt. Tell them I stepped in, saved the company, raised your daughter, and loved your wife better than you ever could. Who do you think the world is going to root for, Stephen? The hero or the coward?" Stephen opened his mouth, but nothing came out. And Clara added, checking her phone, "Mia just called. Apparently, the credit card you gave her was declined. She's at the police station. Something about trying to skip out on a hotel bill. She's offering to sell a very interesting story about how you two planned to blackmail us." Stephen slumped. The fight went out of him. He looked small. "Get out," I said quietly. "Lucas. Get out. Don't come back to New York. If I see you near Emma, if I see you near Clara, I won't stop with a punch next time." Stephen looked at Emma. She wouldn't even look at him. She was holding my hand, so tight her knuckles were white. He turned and walked out the door. He didn't take the scotch. He didn't take the robe. He left with exactly what he deserved. Nothing. The silence after the door closed was heavy. Emma let go of my hand and took a step back. She looked up at me, her big eyes searching my face. "You're really not him?" she asked. I knelt down so I was eye level with her.
No.
"I'm his twin brother. I'm your uncle, technically." Emma frowned. "But you fixed my bike. You taught me how to punch. You made me drink those gross protein shakes." "I did." "And you stayed up with me when I had the flu." "I did." "So you're my dad," she stated firmly.
"Biologically, no."
"But in every way that matters, if you'll have me." Emma rolled her eyes, a gesture she learned from Clara. "Biology is boring. We learned that in science. You're my dad." She threw her arms around my neck. "Just don't leave again, okay? You suck at leaving." "I promise," I choked out, holding her tight. "I'm not going anywhere." Clara joined us on the floor, wrapping her arms around both of us. We sat there on the expensive marble of the empire we built, a tangle of limbs and relief. "So," Clara whispered in my ear. "Lucas Reed. Nice name. Sounds like trouble." I smiled. "But he's settling down." The next few months were chaotic but liberating. Clara held a press conference. She didn't hide it. She controlled the narrative. The tale of two brothers, the headlines read. We spun it as a tragic romance, the mental health decline of the first husband, the heroic return of the estranged twin who stepped in to save the family. It was half true, which is the best kind of PR. The stock price didn't drop. It went up. People love a redemption arc. They love the idea of a man who loved a woman so much he became someone else for her. Stephen tried to sue, of course. But without money for high-end lawyers, and with Mia testifying against him in exchange for a lighter sentence on her fraud charges, he didn't get far. He ended up moving to the West Coast, disappearing into the obscurity he hated so much. I legally changed my name back to Lucas. But I kept the last name Hayes. It was Clara's name, and I wanted to belong to her. One evening, about 6 months later, I was in the kitchen. I was making dinner, actual food, not the burnt mess of 10 years ago. My cooking had improved, even if my temper was still short when it came to people messing with my family. Clara walked in. She was wearing one of my old shirts. "Hey," she said, hopping onto the counter. "Hey." I stirred the sauce. "Emma asleep?" "Out like a light. She had karate practice." Clara watched me for a moment. I was thinking. Dangerous. I was thinking about that night in the car, when I asked if Mia was better than me. I turned off the stove. I walked over and stood between her knees. I recall. "You never really answered," she teased, though her eyes were serious. "You just said you lied." I rested my hands on her waist. "Clara, you gave me a life. You gave me a daughter. You gave me a purpose."
Mia.
"Mia was a shadow. You're the sun. You don't compare a shadow to the sun." Clara smiled, that soft, genuine smile that she only showed me. "Good answer." "I have a question for you, though," I said. "Shoot." 10 years ago, when I first showed up, you said you knew by day 3. "Yes."
Why didn't you kick me out then?
"I was a fraud. I was poor. I had nothing." Clara looked down at my hands, tracing the scars on my knuckles. Scars from working, from fighting for her. "Because," she whispered, "I was drowning Lucas. Stephen was drowning me. And then you showed up. And for the first time in my life, someone handed me a life raft instead of an anchor. I didn't care who you were. I just knew you were the one who stayed." She looked up, eyes shining. "And I decided that if you were willing to pretend to be him to save me, I was willing to pretend to believe you." I kissed her then. It wasn't the kiss of a substitute, or a twin, or a ghost. It was my kiss. Lucas's kiss. "I love you," I said. "I know," she replied. "Now feed me. Your daughter is going to want seconds." I turned back to the stove, grinning. The mirror in the hallway caught my reflection. Same face as the man who ran away. But the eyes were different. The man in the mirror looked happy. He looked home. My brother might have been born with this face, but I was the one who earned it. And I intended to keep it and the 2 women who loved it for the rest of my life.